Hey there guys, it's Poohead189 here, and I decided to make a quick lore video to commemorate the groundbreaking Baldur's Gate 3 announcement made just days before E3. I for one am extremely excited, and since I know a lot of you either haven't played the previous installments in many years, or not at all, I thought you guys could use a small history lesson on the city as well as how it's run. So let's begin. No one knows the exact date of the city's founding, only that it was likely over 1,000 years ago. Originally, it was a small trading hub and harbor for less reputable sailors and those of the lower classes. Pirates often used it as a base, and they would trick trading vessels into crashing onto the rocky shallows by using light tricks in the fog, and the ships would sail towards the lights, believing they were lighthouses for safe harbor. When the ship sunk, the pirates would raid and pillage the fallen vessels and take their goods up the river Chionthar, a short way to a small base they called Grey Harbor, which eventually became known as Old Town, or the Upper City, but we'll get to that. One day, an adventurer named Baldur, who often made Grey Harbor his home, came back from a far-off voyage that led him to Ankarom, a continent above Maztica, fully 3,000 miles away from the Sword Coast. He arrived back from his venture with vast treasures, and after hiding much of his wealth, he used the rest of it to create a great granite wall along the river for protection of the harbor. Baldur then went on a second voyage, sailing back to Ankarom for more gold and exploration. Unfortunately, he never returned. After he vanished, local farmers took control of the wall's construction and used it to protect their own homes and farmsteads, rather than the harbor. Nearby townsfolk and other outsiders flocked to the fledgling town for protection, and the hamlet swelled in size. Despite the new ownership and the scuffles between the pirates and the local farmers on who owned the wall and the gate were still considered Baldur's, and eventually the name was shortened to simply Baldur's Gate. The walled region of Grey Harbor came to be known as Old Town, as I had stated earlier, while newly constructed buildings between the southern wall and the harbor were built in the portion thereafter known as Heapside. For more intricate details on what happens then, between the founding and the current timeline, there will be a link in the description below that will lead you to the channel Faerun History, which is a group yours truly is a part of, but I will give a few more anecdotes. The old town eventually became known as the Upper City, where the rich dwelled, and it was where the pirates used to dwell. In fact, many of the rich are descendants of the pirates of old and take great pride in it. Heapside became known as the Lower City, and when the nation of Amn was founded, trade skyrocketed, fully entwining the two halves together to make one whole city, and it was reflected in the expanded construction of the city wall. The bluffs of the Lower City were protected by two extensions of the old wall that continued south to the northern shores of the river Chionthar. Now, on to current politics. To keep the city open-ended, and because some names will likely change between now and when Baldur's Gate 3 releases, I'll not give hard names, but I will talk about positions of power within the city. Now, to begin. There is a ruling body of people and three classes of citizen or resident. The ruling body is called the Council of Four, which are made up of 4 Grand Dukes, who were given their titles via election, and their terms last their lifetimes. Of course, with a city like Baldur's Gate, the voting is always rigged, but hey, they're trying. The highest class of the citizenry are the rich and local nobles that live in the Upper City. They're usually merchants wanting to buy their way into nobility, though. Not only is the Upper City where the upper class live, but it literally is of a higher elevation than the rest of Baldur's Gate. The rich control much of the city's affairs, at least when they are not impeding on the decisions of the Grand Dukes. You can enter the Upper City and sell wares or visit if you have a special permit, but unless you are one of the upper class, no matter what permit you have, by sundown you are forcefully removed from and thrown into the Lower City. The next tier of power among the citizenry are the local guilds, usually thieves' guilds that do business with the upper class in the Upper City, though the guilds always operate in the Lower City. They probably would even if given the option, as most of their work and the city's lifeblood usually flows through the Lower City. And of course, the lowest tier of resident are the commoners, traders, privateers, sailors, and visitors of the city, including but not limited to pirates and adventurers. People all over Faerun visit Baldur's Gate to trade, sell, or buy rare items, or to make it to the famous Library of Candlekeep, which is only about 150 miles inland, which makes Baldur's Gate the closest major city to Candlekeep. To continue and to give you a feel for the environment, let's first talk about the law of the city though. The city is huge on liberty and personal freedoms. No questions asked, no nosy guardsmen, a lot of illegal activity occurs within the city. It's a darker reflection on Waterdeep, both very cosmopolitan cities, but while Waterdeep maintains order at the possible expense of some trade, Baldur's Gate chooses trade, illicit or not, any day of the week. There are two bodies of guardsmen in the city. The Flaming Fist is a mercenary group that, for over 100 years, has been the main law in the city, and they are loyal only to the Four Dukes. They are there to defend from attacks within and without, though Baldur's Gate is only rarely attacked by any outsiders. Your average Flaming Fist beat cop or patrol group will not much care who started a ruckus or even if someone died, unless they are of course particular importance. One of the writers for D&D gave the example of, if your group of adventurers get into a fight with a local gang and the Flaming Fist show up, they'll tell you to cease all activities, and because there are now corpses from the battle, you each owe 5 gold, perhaps, and you need to get rid of the bodies yourselves. But other than that, no penalties will befall you because that's just too much paperwork and your fine was sufficient. They simply keep enough order to keep trade going, and they are not above bribes and extortion themselves. The second guardsman group are the City Watch, which are only loyal to the upper city. They keep people out of the upper city, protect the rich's homes, and kick people out of their houses, neighborhoods, or entire sections of the city whenever the rich deem it necessary. Because of this very hands-off direction the law of the city takes, Baldur's Gate is the perfect city for any pirates, thieves, or raiders wishing to sell stolen goods, and it's also the perfect place to buy very rare items that could perhaps have been stolen. Mentioning Candlekeep earlier, there is also a thriving market on rare books, because in order to enter Candlekeep, you need to bring a book that the library does not have, and anyone wishing to enter will often buy books at Baldur's Gate to gain entry, and many thieves steal very rare books from travelers in the city, to then sell back on the Baldur's Gate market to those wishing to enter Candlekeep. You should never leave Baldur's Gate with a book on your arm, at least further inland. You'll probably be attacked and robbed. Last but not least, let's talk briefly about Baldur's Gate's impression on the wider world. Despite the creation of Amn bringing it initial trade, Amn and Baldur's Gate hate one another, as they have been in a perpetual trading war for over a century. In fact, Amn has intimidated Baldur's Gate so much that they decided to join the Lord's Alliance, which is an alliance of merchant cities made to protect themselves from the rising of dark threats lurking within rival cities, most notably Zhentarim and, you guessed it, the rising power of Amn. Baldur's Gate is the southernmost city and the most removed, as many of the cities are in the Silver Marches, and the closest city, Waterdeep, is close to 500 miles away to the north. Not very far as the ship sails, but still not close enough for comfort. Baldur's Gate also has a small outpost located in Port Nyanzaru within the southern region of Chult, as Port Nyanzaru was once an Amnish city until the locals overthrew them, and to see the city remain out of Amn's hands, Baldur's Gate provided a garrison of Flaming Fist members that guard the city, and there has been a steady trading network between Baldur's Gate and Port Nyanzaru since. Baldur's Gate also frequently trades with Memnon and other cities of Kalimshand, and as the gate guards the river Chionthar, it guards the way into the western heartlands all the way to Cormyr and the Sea of Fallen Stars. Some say Baldur's Gate is the very center of Faerun trade and travel, and to give you a note on the military might of Baldur's Gate, the Flaming Fist have nearly 2,000 members, and there is a fleet of 40 warships that can be summoned in a time of war that regularly guard the harbor and Sea of Swords. The City Watch, I am not entirely sure their numbers, but it's probably in the mid-hundreds. Well, that's about all I'm going to cover today. Hope you enjoyed the video, and do let me know if you're curious on anything else. Liking and subscribing helps the channel, but only do so if you feel you wish to. I never insist anyone to do anything. Thanks everyone, and have a lovely day.